Shalom. All praises, blessings, glories, and honors to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha, Quadash. Double honors to my elder apostles and bishop elders of Great Millstone who have taught me the truth, as well of men of like mind. Shalom wa chasad, which means peace and mercy, to the elect of the nation of Israel, whom are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and Israelite foreigners of the seed line of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom are scattered here in America, which is Babylon the Great, and abroad. To you I say Shalom, and Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Ratazah. This lesson is edifying and informative. Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 5. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, and evil, and only evil, behold, is come. An end is come. The end is come. It watcheth for thee. Behold, it is come. Verse 25. Destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none. First Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3. For when they shall say, peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Second Ezra chapter 8, verse 50. For many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter time shall dwell in the world, because they have walked in great pride. Second Ezra chapter 15, verse 18. For because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods, because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. In the news, from the Sputnik, Yellen warns U.S. debt default risks mass unemployment, broad economic weakness. Also from the RT, Bank of England tells Britons to accept they are poor. The U.S. Secretary of the Treasury has indicated the U.S. economy is at risk of mass unemployment, payment failures, broad economic weakness, and interest rates rising into perpetuity. Now the word perpetuity pardon me, means the quality or state of being perpetual, eternity, the condition of an estate limited so that it will not take effect or vast within the period fixed by law, an annuity payable forever. In other words, eternity. If the government defaults on its debt later this year, speaking at a conference in Washington, U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen warned Tuesday that the consequences would be devastating and broad if the government fails to pay its debts in the next few months. Yellen predicted the The fallout would likely see the U.S. government miss critical military and social security payments, as well as undergo a mass firing of government employees in a worst case scenario. The devastating setback would also cause thousands of households to miss payments on their houses, cars, and credit cards, causing a collapse of the U.S. credit market. With the dire outlook in mind, Yellen called on U.S. lawmakers to quickly raise the debt ceiling before it is too late. This economic catastrophe is preventable, and the solution is simple, Yellen pleaded. Congress must vote to raise or suspend the debt limit, and it should do so without conditions, and it should not wait until the last minute. The U.S. government hit its self-imposed debt ceiling earlier this year in January. Treasury Department has since been taking extraordinary measures to prevent a debt default. At the time, Yellen warned measures could only hold off default for a few months. She warned that without Congress authorizing another raise of the debt ceiling, the government could default sometime this summer. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, RCA, proposed a bill last week that would raise the debt ceiling an additional 1.5 trillion, or requires a 4.5 trillion cut to government spending, which is pretty big. President Biden has called on Congress to raise the debt ceiling without preconditions and has threatened to veto McCarthy's bill. The bill would recoup unspent COVID funds, end student debt relief that is currently bogged down in the courts, reverse the $80 billion budget increase for the Internal Revenue Service, repeal green energy tax incentives, and tighten work requirements for Medicare and SNAP recipients. This concludes the article. In other news, also again from the RT, Bank of England tells Britons to accept they are poor. Workers and companies have been warned against driving up inflation by paying past the purse. British households and businesses need to accept that they are worse off and should stop asking for wage increases and pushing prices higher. The Bank of England's chief economist Y. Pill said on Tuesday. According to Pill, a series of inflationary shocks generated by the pandemic, the conflict in Ukraine, and crop shortages have sent prices in the UK to a 40-year high. He claimed that in response to surging bills and other rising costs, workers and businesses are attempting to transfer the impact of inflation onto each other. People try and pass that cost onto one of our competitors, saying we'll be all right, but they will have to take our share too, Phil argued. He warned that the parcel game that's going on here, that game is generating inflation, and that part of inflation can persist. Instead, people have to realize that they are poor because if the cost of what you're buying has gone up compared to what you're selling, you're going to be worse off, which is true. Because what is inflation? Inflation is a general increase in the cost of goods and services due to the expansion of money supply within an economy. So obviously, if the cost of goods and services appreciate, that just means that the value of your currencies is corroding. It's losing value. In fact, the fiat system is extrinsic. It receives its value from external trust. It's not intrinsic like real money. It's not inherent like gold, silver, cattle, and land, which is true real money. Okay? It says the UK is a large net importer of natural gas, which has been rising in price more rapidly over the past year than the value of the country's exports, mainly services, economists noted. So somehow, in the UK, someone needs to accept that they're worse off and stop trying to maintain their real spending power by bidding up prices, whether higher wages or passing the energy costs through onto consumers, he concluded. And eventually this is going to lead people to take things into their own hands, because people won't be able to sustain the cost of what they have to pay now to feed their families and keep a roof over their heads. Eventually, men are going to start to break into the homes of one another, steal their goods. Society is going to soon implode. 2nd Ezra 15 is going to be playing out. Annual inflation in the UK stood at 10.1% in March, driven largely by soaring food prices, while the country's cost of living crisis has showed little sign of abating, although the inflation rate dipped from 10.4% in February. It fell less than expected and is still well above the Bank of England's target of 2%. This concludes the article. So, the Lord is going to bring great judgments, great evils upon the earth, man. Again, this is the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse 18. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. Why are the city going to be troubled? Because men are going to be seditious. There will be sedition among men. There will be unlawful insurrections against lawful authorities. So people are going to eventually say, you know what, to hell with our government, to hell with the police system, to hell with the military system. We're going to take things into our own hands. Okay? That's what's going to happen, man. It says, the houses shall be destroyed and men shall be afraid. So if men are going to be afraid, how much more women? A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor. Why? Because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation, as it will state. Many men will despair in the evils ahead, because it states in Ezekiel chapter 7, and evil, and only evil, is come. The end is come. It watcheth for thee. So the Lord is setting judgments in store for scorners, scoffers, 2/3. And you heathens and Edomites. It says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods, take all their goods, all their food, even their daughters, their sons, their wives, because, you know, a lot of women, and men too, but mainly you women, you're going to be getting raped. Especially the ones of you that look very, very well. A lot of these men out here that are insane in the membrane, and that's been deprived for many years, they're going to lose it, and they're going to be raping a lot of women out here. It says, destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread. This is what? Famine. And for great tribulation. So all these things are coming, man. Okay, again, this is the book of Ezekiel, and I close out with this. Chapter 7, verse 25. Destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none. So there won't be any peace in the times ahead, when the Lord sends destruction upon this land in the form of Jacob's trouble. And then ultimately, we understand that according to biblical prophecy, the Lord will destroy this land, America, Babylon the Great, while we have nuclear fire. All right, it says, destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none. And when they're going to be promised peace, that's when destruction which cometh will come suddenly upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. And they shall seek peace, and there shall be none. Mischief, verse 26, mischief shall come upon mischief, and rumor shall be upon rumor. Then shall they seek a vision of the prophet, but the law shall perish from the priest, and counsel from the ancients. The Lord is going to completely hide his prophets, hide his words. Okay? Creflo Dollar won't be able to save you. TD Fakes won't be able to save you. Jake's out there. Joyce Myers and all these different false prophets which you look up to, they won't have the answers. Okay, so Lord willing, this lesson was edifying, straight to the point. Lord is willing, until the next, I say Shalom to the elect. Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, B'Hashem Echa Kodash Brakatham, to the elect. Shalom.